Yeah, hi guys. Recently, I got the chance to get interviewed with Deloitte for .NET Full Stack Developer. I applied through LinkedIn. Basically, one of the HR reached out to me, asking if I'm looking for a job. I genuinely didn't want it to, but I thought of giving it a shot just to, keep up with the market because recently I joined Hitachi in the month of last March 2025 as a senior consultant, and this position was also pretty much the same. Uh, the CTC max to max they could have offer is like something 36 or something, but anyways I didn't want it to you know change the company just yet, so just thought of giving an interview and thought like how it actually feels to get interviewed at Deloitte. So the interview process was nice. Initially they conducted AI phase, where AI will be asking you a few questions, just sort of a phone screening round. If you remember, in the past we used to have that happen, and then they came up with the first round. So I'm going to share you all the questions which was asked during the round one. So yeah, so whether we get into that, I'll try to answer as much as possible, else you can find it out, or I'll plan to create a separate video where I'll be going through each and every question one by one. Yeah, so the first question was what is .NET and how code is compiled? Basically, he was asking about, CLR, CTS, how JIT compiler comes into the picture. So you can read it here. Else you can, yeah, research more on this. You'll find lots sorts of resources explaining this. But a very straightforward question, basic question. He started very normally. Then he jumped on to dependency injection that how .NET Core handles dependency injection. So I explained him like, basically it helps us to promote the loose coupling between component, whichever we are using. So we don't have to, any class doesn't have to create all the dependencies it might require by itself. It has to be injected through outside. I, explained him all about it. Then he asked me what are the types of, dependency injection we have. So I explained like there are three types of dependency injection: through constructor, through property, or method. The most preferred one is obviously the constructor injection, which we all must have used. And by the way, I forgot to inform you that it was for a senior consultant. Yeah. So here's the third question. Directly he jumped on to database part. Actually, this was the first step, so he was asking random question. He wasn't sticking around just for backend or front end or SQL or Azure and all. He was, going up and down there. So he asked about indexes and store procedure versus function. So I explained the differences between all three. That what is the use case for indexes, what is the use case for store procedure, the use case for functions. If you want, I can create a separate video explaining each question, but for now, I'm just going through, since the interview was almost for an hour, so I'm trying to cover as much as question as possible in this video. Then he asked about a few questions around Angular. So he asked me like, have you worked on Angular or React? Though I worked on both, but I do prefer, Angular. So I asked him like, I answered exactly the same, that I have worked on .NET along with Angular or React, but usually I prefer Angular. So he asked me like, can you explain the architecture at the high level? So basically, I explained him before .NET, sorry, Angular 14, there was no concept of standalone component. So there used to be a module inside which we used to create components and all the template services and everything I explained. So he asked like, what are the components in Angular? So I explained him that a component is basically the basic building block of an Angular application. Everything right from header, footer, you name it, everything is basically nothing but component in Angular, right? So that's exactly what I explained him. Then he jumped on to, have you implemented dependency injection in Angular and why is it very important? So obviously I again explained him like it helps us to loosely couple the component and make the component lightweight. You can read about all this, or if you want, as I said, I can create separate videos for each topic. Then he jumped on for data binding and what are the different types of data binding, as you know, right? So I explained him that. Uh, then he asked like, what is Angular component lifecycle hooks? So I explained him like, it starts with a constructor, then it moves on to ng on init, ng on uh, changes, ng to check, and so on. So I explain. I'm missing out the flow right now, but I explained him the entire lifecycle hooks. Then he asked me like, what is the difference between ng on init and constructor? So I explained him like whenever we are making a API call or anything where we are fetching data or maybe even from database, we avoid doing that in the constructor. We do it inside the ng on init because constructor gets instantiated whenever a component instance is created, but it is not ready yet. So ng on init is the right place where the component is ready and the data fetching and all those manipulation can be done easily within the ng on init. So yeah, the next question was, yeah, have you used input output decorator? I explained him how it works. So what are the directive he asked? Then he asked about the difference between structural and attribute directive. You must have, if you've worked on Angular, you know how to explain all this, right? Yes. So yeah. So then he jumped into security part. Like, have you implemented any? How you basically achieve? My apology. So how have you implemented security in Web API? So I explained him. We have implemented JWT token, uh, which basically reaches out to what we call that the client server communication gets secured through implementation of JWT token. So there is a authentication server where we send basically the username and password and get the token, and the consecutive request we use to send with that JWT, and the server basically the resource server matches the signature uh, RJWT, and if they matches, then resources will be shared and all. As I said, I mean, if you want the detailed explanation of each, I can give it in separate videos, but I'm just going through all the questions as much as possible. Then yeah, he asked about do you know boxing, unboxing, and its implication, why string is immutable and all. So I explained him in detail. So this question lasted for like 2-3 minutes because he was drilling me down in this question very much. Then yes, the next one was garbage collection and resource management. So he wanted to know about GC0, GC1, GC2, and GC3, how garbage collector helps us clean the garbage. And in the same question, he also discussed about when to implement IDisposable. So I explained him whenever we are interacting with database and all. So garbage collector we wouldn't be able to clean it up. So that's why we implement IDisposable interface and dispose it manually. Then yeah, then he moved on to MVC concept where he asked about how session is different from temp data and view data. Uh, you know, how long data will persist using temp data and view back. What are the things we can do with temp data and all? So I explained him in detail. Then yeah, he went on to SQL functions, basically, what is row number, rank, dense rank, and so on. So this was normal one. Then yes, this was a tricky one where he actually mixed up microservices with JWT and everything. This was kind of a scenario-based question that if there are multiple microservices, how you make sure that once you log in, it reaches to the right microservice, and only authenticated user are being allowed, others are not. So I explained him we implement API gateway, and through that we achieve the same. And this conversation was like for 8-10 minutes. I'll create a separate video on this because this was a very interesting and very he literally grilled me on this. And fortunately, just few days back, we implemented in our own project in Hitachi. So I was very clear on this, how to explain this. So this was a good one. And yeah, then he jumped on with a few, tricky interview questions where he asked me if, let's say, a class implements two interfaces, both contain the same method, then how would you, implement and call each other? So I explained it that we have to basically use, implement, casting. We literally have to cast it so that basically the main one gets called, sorry, whichever method we are calling, we want to call, that has to be casted through the interface name, and then consecutive method will be called. Then he followed up. He mixed the interface question with the DI container. So whenever we are registering, how how DI container basically resolves the same method issue. So I explained, like, in dependency injection we don't have to worry about it because the interface name will be calling the same method which is implemented inside it, not the other method. So yeah. And then yes, then he asked me, like, how many service lifetime is there in while we implement a dependency injection. So I explained about all three: singleton, scope, and transient. Uh, and related to this, so as you know, here singleton is basically a longest serving one. So only one instance is created throughout the application lifecycle, and it doesn't get destroyed until the application is closed. And then scoped is only one instance will be there per request, but within that request the same instance will be used. And transient is like new instance every time whenever you're requesting, let's say. So yeah, he asked, like, when do we prefer scoped one? So I told him that while interacting with database we'll go with the scoped one. And then yeah, this was a very interesting question. He said, which service lifetimes can safely depend on each other? So yeah, because the as you can imagine, like, the lifetime of each scope is different. If, let's say, there is a singleton one, if we call scope inside the singleton one, will it work? No, it will fail actually, right? So these kind of things, I have added a few more condition for you to easily understand that. And at the end, give me a second, sorry. So at the end, he gave me two coding questions where he asked me about, like, there's a given a string. You have to found the you have to you basically have to find the occurrence of each character in a given string. So I solved this question through dictionary. And let me tell you something very interesting. This question has been repeated so much. In I got interviewed at Capgemini, at Hitachi itself when I was to join, then Cognizant, you name the company. This question has been repeated so much because basically they want to, test your ability, whether you know how to play with a dictionary and, the importance of mapping and all, hash map and all. So this was something which I, fixed it. I was able to solve the problem because I've been, practicing for such questions so long. I do use lead code for that. You can also do the same. The last one was to some problem that given an array, we have to find the target value. Okay, so let's say there are four numbers given: 2, 7, 11, 9. You have to find the indexes of two number which will be when added comes to the target number. So I implemented this as well. So yeah, guys, this was my interview experience with Deloitte. I will be coming up with more and more questions going forward. And I have few more interviews which I have given. Which, by the way, this was the first round of interview. Second round is gonna be scheduled, I think, next week. Okay. They wanted me to do it this week, but since I thought like, uh, I'll take a chill pill and do it in the next week. So next week I'll be having second round. So I'm definitely gonna post that as well. So anyone who is preparing for .NET Full Stack, round, please help them share these video because these are very latest questions on the internet. Most of the questions which we see are, I mean, they're very outdated. Nobody asks them. Simple question also they trigger, they trick it. And I can recall one more question where it was based on constructor. You know, when would the parent constructor is going to be called, and what are the conditions we can implement so that child constructor is going to called. He asked me about static constructor as well. So these are very tricky, and at the time of interview, usually we know, but when we're in an interview and kind of a stress mood, it gets trickier. So be prepared for these kind of tricks which these days interviewers are using. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching the video. If you watch it till the end, please share with somebody who is in need. They might be in need of this. And if any of these questions comes up in your interview round, please let me know. And if you want a separate video on any particular question where you are stuck or you're struggling to understand, I will definitely wanna help you and do that. By the way, I have got 8 years of experience in .NET Full Stack, uh, and currently I'm working in Hitachi Digital Services. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you need any other help from my side. Thank you. Thanks for watching.